Today, it will be just about a month since those girls were taken away from their school. The hashtag Bring Back the Girls campaign has been pretty much successful by all standards, starting of course first on social media and then sprouting in different cities around the world and back here in Nigeria, different cities in the country. People are pouring out to the streets, just like they did during the Occupy Nigeria protest. Is it going to work?
Well, we hope that it is going to work. We pray that it is going to work. The only people who can assure us that it's going to work are the people who are tasked with the security of lives and property in Nigeria, which would be the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and his armed forces. Now, and we are rooting for them to succeed because we just want those girls to be back. However, now talking about, how it relates to Occupy Nigeria, I actually feel that this is a progression, in terms of, somebody asked me 3 weeks ago, just before the girls were sadly kidnapped, and said, look, he doesn't think that Nigeria, we had a fierce debate on another TV program, he doesn't think that Nigerians will come out again like Occupy Nigeria. And I told him that is false.
This has proven them wrong.
Proven them wrong so fast because democracy is a process. People begin to learn by case studies about the power of their numbers. They do it once, they retreat, they do it again, they become used to it. We are basically exercising our democratic muscles. Now, between that time and now, there have been pockets of protests, on random issues, about the NIS tragedy where at least 10 young people were killed in Abuja alone. There was the citizen Yusuf Siakson that was detained by the SSS and was missing for a few days, and citizens went on the streets and demanded. And each of those times it began to appear that the government was finding it easy to ignore people. People were beginning to lose hope. But then with this, there's a reawakening. People see that if you stay the course, even if the government of the day chooses to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear, it doesn't stop you from continuing to demand for good governance and action from the people that you elected. Because what we've seen is that even if we missed out on one chance or the other, and one wasn't successful and one was successful, at this time it has caught like wildfire. Now, much of the anger is about the girls, but underlying that is about the sense of a state that is failing its people. It's combined aggression. It's a rage that says, this is enough. We've been doing these little things, and this is enough. Now, the beauty of this is we don't have 10,000 people gathered together in Ojota.
Right.
We have pockets of 1,000 and 2,000 and 3,000 and 400 and 300.
And it all adds up.
Yes, and they are refusing to go back home. So it's like a network of angry citizens that you cannot send tanks into one location and disperse. So what people in government need to understand, and what people who are administrating people in a democracy need to understand, that there is no one form of political protest. As long as, and this is not political, there's no some form of citizen protest, because this isn't political. This is angry citizens on the streets. And when citizens are angry, they don't have to wait for a governor, an opposition politician. They don't have to wait for a civil rights advocate. They don't have to wait for anybody. And you cannot preempt the form that it will take. Nobody could have preempted 2 weeks ago when we started this hashtag, when Dr. Obiozekwe started this hashtag, in Port Harcourt. Nobody could have preempted that there would be Ellen, there would be Gordon Brown, there would be Michelle Obama, there would be everybody, there would be the UN, the World Economic Forum. It reminds us that when the people get angry, there is no force on earth that can stop them.
Now that you mention all those people, again, this is, observing and actually being a participant on the media side of this whole thing. What was so different about this particular incident, the kidnapping or the campaign? What was so different about it that didn't create this buzz when the kids in Barkin-Ladi were slaughtered? What was so different about it? Because
honestly, I don't know. We're people that are hit almost on a weekly basis by tragedy. We're people that are almost numb to our collective tragic fate. There are people, where do you start from? There's one bomb in Yanya, you're trying to survive the bomb in Yanya. Another bomb goes off in Yanya, you're trying to survive that girls are kidnapped, you're trying to survive that. There are claims that, they went into a village and wiped out 300 people. Daily Nigerians are just trying to cope with the enormity, not just of the tragedy, but of the non-action by the people tasked with protecting us. Because we must realize that Bring Back Our Girls is not just a cry against Boko Haram and the violence, it's a cry against a pattern of non-action by those tasked with the responsibility. And we cannot, because when we dissociate that non-action from the tragedy, we defeat the whole purpose of the campaign. People are saying, why didn't our president speak for 2 weeks, for instance? So on a daily basis, people are contending with all these tragedies. And I really am reluctant to blame Nigerians or to, there's a lot of accusation, we're docile, etc., etc. No, when the people are slammed on a daily basis by this kind of vicious cycle of tragedy, they try to survive, But what they've shown, or what Nigerians have shown, is that we won't keep quiet and take it on for too long. Right. That at some point, every now and again, and this momentum that is building, we will have enough. And Occupy Nigeria happened, this is happening differently, it will happen again differently after these girls are found by the grace of God. And if the government continues this trend and the people who are elected to protect us across all parties continue these trends, more people actions will continue. People will keep saying enough is enough.
But do you think that that the monumental embarrassment was necessary?
On the
part of, you mentioned about the president having kept quiet and all of that, and it just took an embarrassing state to get everybody to come out and start speaking. Did it have to take that much?
Well, again, I'm not in government, so I cannot say, I have a sense, but I cannot say.
Or maybe I should rephrase that. How upset or how irritated are you then that it took the embarrassment of the Nigerian government for us to even start getting the kind of action that we're getting right now?
Well, for me, it is ridiculous, really, because I do not even know. The reason why the U.S. government is involved in this campaign is because U.S. citizens demanded that their government be involved in this campaign. It wasn't first a request by the Nigerian government. It was a demand by U.S. citizens for their country to get involved. Now, it's a shame that when 2 weeks ago, Nigerian citizens, I remember that Enough is Enough Nigeria and all that, were demanded the same thing, there was no official response from our government. It's a thing of disgrace. Now, it is not a reflex desire to criticize government. I'm not, for one of those people.
They keep falling for it.
But you cannot. What do you do? There's only one commander-in-chief of the armed forces. There's a reason why a presidential democracy elects a chief executive, because we are not the ones that employ the chief of defense staff. We're not the one that employs the people who are in charge of security apparatus. We employ one person and give him the authority to safeguard the entire country. Now, that person is quiet for 2 weeks when at least 180 of his citizens, young girls from school, were kidnapped. And the vibe we hear is that, he was working behind the scenes. There's no such thing in a democracy with active civil society and the media. You do not have the right to work in secret without communicating with your citizens. Justice must not just be done. It must be seen to be done. So the fact that us talking to our government wasn't enough to get it to action is a cause for disgrace. And on my part, anger, it's inconceivable. You want to inspire. People want to believe in their president. I want to believe in the president. People want to believe that he can lead this war. It is his responsibility to help us have faith that he can.
All right. We'll take another news piece and come right back to continue our conversation with Chude here on Rubbing Minds. Let's take that, another report on the missing girls from the Chibok school.
All we are saying,
again, the Bring Back Our Girls protesters gathered outside the Maitama Amusement Park to hold their meetings for the day.
Bring back our girls, now and alive.
They were joined by parents of some of the abducted girls. One after the other, parents of the girls narrated how the news of the abduction got to them, as well as efforts made to rescue their children.
With the parents, we gathered ourselves, we went into the bush, and really one Fulani man told us that just now some of your daughters came out to fetch some water here. We could not do anything, and he advised us to go back because the men are there, the gunmen are there, and if they venture see us, they will kill us with our daughters.
While the federal government is said to have accepted the intervention of the United States to tackle the insurgency in the northeast, there is, however, a strong plea to relevant authorities to match words with action.
Haka roƙonmu muna so a yi kokari a kawo mana 'ya'yanmu don muna cikin damuwa sosai, ba karamin damuwa ba. Yanzu ya kusan wata ɗaya yaran nan babu. Kwana 25 yaran nan suna nan ba mu san ko suna da rai ko ba su da rai. Mu dai muna fatan suna da rai. Gwamnati ta tashi a tsaye ta taimake mu a kwato mana 'ya'yanmu a kawo mana 'ya'yanmu.
A lot of emotions also poured out from some Nigerians at the meeting for government to help rescue the girls before any harm is done to them.
Those children, they were on national assignment. They wanted to contribute to Nigeria. They wanted to contribute to national development. That was why they decided to go to school. By all means, under all security threats, to do something. It could have been easy to not do anything and refuse to go to school and be a nuisance to the society. But they said no. They wanted to be somebody. Honestly, if I was abducted 23 years ago and nobody did nothing, I would stand before you today and talk.
For many of these Nigerians and others not at this meeting, the fight against the dreaded Islamic sect Boko Haram should not be handled with kid gloves.